Good afternoon. I would first like to thank the organizers of the meeting and Epilepsy Foundation for the opportunity to be here today and give you an update on our Staccato Alprazolam program in acute treatment of seizures. Engage is a small company, startup company, founded by Greg Mays, who is sitting here in the front row, a year ago, and Greg has a passion for drug development in epilepsy because of family reasons. His son was diagnosed with epilepsy 3 years ago, I think. And Greg started the company in January last year and asked me to join as the CMO and co-founder, and I'm very excited to be part of this project. We are fully dedicated to developing Staccato Alprazolam for acute treatment of seizures, and this is a unique opportunity for a couple of reasons, and the most important is the onset of action or potential onset of action, which is very quick. We work together with Alexa Pharmaceuticals. We partner with them, and they have developed the unique Stockade technology for drug delivery. And Stockade technology allows the drug delivery through deep lung in a very rapid fashion with PK, IV type PK and PD characteristics. So we hope to have an opportunity to show that this drug can actually stop a seizure that has just started because of the quick delivery and onset of action. This slide shows you the Staccato device and the technology. It's a plastic device, it's very light, easy to use, and the size is like a half of an iPhone. There's a metal platform inside the device, and the active drug sits on the platform. And the unique technology allows the transition of the drug to an aerosol in less than half a second. Inhalation activates the heating system, it heats up the drug, and it evaporates in less than a fifth of a second. And inhalation, normal inhalation, delivers the drug into deep lung, and then it's rapidly absorbed, gets to the brain, provides IV type of pharmacokinetics. This technology has been approved for one other drug product, which is Adasup, that has been approved both in the US and in the EU. So first I'll show you a couple of PK curves as a background, and then we talk about the phase 2A study that was completed a couple of years ago, and after that briefly about our plans for the next study. On the left-hand side here we have the PK data from a healthy volunteer study. 5 different doses were tested. There was a nice dose proportionality. So the highest dose is on top, that's a 2 milligram dose. The peak concentrations were achieved in 1 minute. The first time point of blood sampling was 30 seconds, and the concentrations were pretty close to the Cmax already at that point. On the right-hand side, we have data from the phase 2A study that I'm going to be talking about in a few minutes. Here again, nice dose proportionality. The 2 milligram dose is the highest one, and you have the plasma concentrations with 1.5 milligram doses. Due to feasibility reasons, the first timing of blood draw in this study was 2 minutes, and we could see the Cmax at that point in this study. This is a pretty complicated slide. There's a couple of things that I want to share with you about this. This is the design of the phase 2A study that was conducted as a proof of concept and to get a better feel of dosing for the next clinical trials. And this is a study in patients with photosensitive epilepsy using intermittent phoric stimulation model, which is well established and used for drugs like Keppra and Lamictal and others. There were 5 patients enrolled in the study. It was randomized, placebo-controlled, double-blind, 5-way crossover study. Each patient received each active dose of Staccato Alprazolam and 2 doses of placebo on 5 test days in a random order. The primary endpoint was the change in standardized photosensitivity range. And this slide shows findings in 1 patient out of 5. This is a representative patient. 4 out of 5 patients showed similar results. 1 patient was not complete responder, so the photosensitivity reaction was not completely abolished by the active drug in that patient, but was only reduced. But as you can see here, so we have the 5 test days. The first one is 1 milligram on first day for this patient, 2 milligrams on the second day, 2 placebo days, and then half a milligram dose on the last day. On the left-hand side, on each day, you have the pre-dose photosensitivity range described as a blue bar, and then the drug was dosed, and then the testing was repeated 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, and 4 and 6 hours later. And as you can see, the active doses completely wiped out the photosensitivity for several hours, and for 1 and 2 milligram doses for the 6-hour period overall. So as a conclusion from this study, we can say that there was a nice reduction in mean SPR primary study endpoint with all the active doses, and it was fast, so for all the doses, maximal or near maximal effect occurred by the first test time point of 2 minutes. 1 and 2 milligram doses were comparable in terms of efficacy. Then that was another important finding. 1 and 2 milligram doses were similar in terms of efficacy, but in relation to sedation and somnolence, which was the most important side effects, there was a difference, so that 2 milligram dose produced more sedation and somnolence. Overall, the drug was, or the treatment was well tolerated. And as a conclusion for the next study, so we have proof of concept of efficacy with this study results. 1 milligram dose seems to be the optimal for balancing efficacy and sedation, and that will be used as one of the 2 doses in the next trial, which is a phase 2b study in patients with predictable seizure patterns. So this is the lengthy name of the study. We will be calling it a stage study in the future for branding purposes. This is going to be an inpatient study where patients who experience a predictable seizure episode will be treated with either one of the 2 active doses or one of the 2 doses of the test product, Staccato Alprazolam, or placebo. And based on careful consideration in terms of the primary endpoint that we will be talking about a bit with the next slide, 3 different seizure episode types were included as eligible for the study. First is generalized seizure episode starting with flurries of myoclonic seizures or absences and lasting for at least 5 minutes. The second one is focal seizures that are prolonged and typically last for at least 3 minutes. And the third one is sort of mini cluster, at least 2 focal seizures within 2 hours. Patients need to have these type of seizure patterns, and they need to experience them on an average on a weekly basis to be eligible for randomization. After qualification, screening and qualification, they will be entering an inpatient unit, either CRU or EMU, for the treatment phase. Still have a couple of minutes.
Eating well.
This slide gives you a general overview of the design. So it's a double-blind randomized trial. The patients will be randomized 1:1:1 on to either half a milligram dose of Staccato Alprazolam, 1 milligram dose of Stockade or placebo. And we are looking at 90 patients, 30 in each arm, to complete the study with evaluable data, and to get there we need 100 randomized patients. The patients will be in the inpatient unit. They will be under clinical observation and video EEG surveillance throughout their stay. They stay up to 1 week, but once they have a treated seizure, they leave the unit and complete the study 24 hours later. One seizure episode will be treated and evaluated, and the patient will self-administer if feasible. If not, then it's going to be the care or staff member, staff caregiver who is going to do the dose. This is my last slide. We start with adult patients 18 and up, but we are starting a PK program with PK modeling and pediatric PK study to allow inclusion of pediatric subjects 12 years and up later during the study, hopefully by the end of this year. And we are also planning for an open label extension study. The patients can go home with the device, but we first need safety data from the inpatient unit to make this possible and agreed to by the agency. We are running this study in collaboration with Epilepsy Study Consortium. We have multiple sites from there, but we have also additional sites. We still need a couple of more high-quality sites. If you are interested in participating in the study as investigator, please reach out to me during this meeting. I'll be here all afternoon. Thank you so much for the attention.
Thank you, Jouko. Yes. And I'm afraid we'll only have one question because we are beginning to fall behind, so please.
A quick question. How did your study design and enrollment design deal with cigarette smoking, if at all? Is that an issue in your
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear.
Cigarette smoking, the impact of cigarette smoking on your patient profiles? And
We don't expect that to have an impact. So we include smokers and non-smokers. We will be conducting a PK study in smokers. That's what FDA wants us to do. But we don't expect to see any difference in PK.
And apparently the FDA wasn't concerned about that either.
No.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jouko.
Thank you.